The most important Sunday talk show, commentary show right here. Joining us from the Pinpoint Policy Institute, a new think tank, in the public discussion. It's Executive Director Gordon Gray. Gordon, welcome to WBAL.
Jerry, thanks so much for having me on this morning. Appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's fantastic. Look, I'm a think tank guy myself. I spent years at the Competitive Enterprise Institute and then the Manhattan Institute, and so I understand the importance of ideas. Many of these think tanks, especially the Manhattan Institute, have done great work in terms of broken windows policing, in terms of welfare reform. There are books and ideas that have literally changed the world, and
Absolutely.
and I know that the ethos of the Pinpoint Policy Institute is to promote and defend. I like the word defend. The essential pillars of American prosperity. Now, just give us a sense of what are the pillars of American prosperity.
Fundamentally, when I look at the American success story, I see the basic building blocks. What we do better than the rest of the world is we put markets at the center of our economy. We recognize the brilliance and innovation of Americans. We don't centralize economic policy decision-making in Washington, or at least we try not to. And that's where that sort of defense piece comes in, is when I look to the left in particular, but also to some extent on the right, I see an increasing tendency to want to micromanage the economy. And that's the mistake that Europe has made, and that's a mistake I don't want to see imported into the United States.
You know, it's interesting. You talk about these pillars and what makes American prosperity work. And again, prosperity, America, the American style of free enterprise, it has lifted more people out of poverty in human history. What from our founding until today, America has lifted people out of poverty. Let me ask you this. Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena, right? It was to support the men, the women in the arena making things happen, and criticizing those on the sidelines, and saying wrong way, don't do this, that's wrong. Talk about that for a second, in the sense that it seems to me that good men, good women don't want to run for office, don't want to lead because of the state of our politics and our public discussion. What do you make of that?
Well, Jerry, I happen to have the man in the arena quote actually on my wall.
No kidding.
And in fact, it begins with, "It is not the critic who counts,
yes,
nor the man who points out a strong man stumbled." And I firmly believe in that sentiment. And I think that is fundamental to the success of the American market economy. It recognizes basically the distributed brilliance of other Americans. And that's what makes our economy run. And I think we should be reinforcing that idea rather than trying to increasingly micromanagement from Washington, D.C., from regulatory agencies to tax policies that stifle that very type of entrepreneurship.
You know, it's interesting because there's data out this week that Americans are having a hard time feeding their families. We're not having a discussion about, can I buy that second car? Can we go on that extended vacation? The conversations now around many household kitchen tables is, man, the food bill, the grocery bill, holy cow, hold off paying that bill until we pay this bill. So it does seem, maybe for the first time, at least in my lifetime, that the American dream is in jeopardy. What do you make of that?
I think that is a very real concern. We're going to get the latest inflation data in about 10 days, and I'm really concerned that yet again it's going to show that, just like it's been over the course of this year, that Americans will end up working more but coming out behind. And that's been the case since December. Is that inflation has outpaced wage growth, and Americans experience that. And they absolutely hate it. And there's interesting research that's been published this year just about how disruptive and how harmful inflation is to the American family. It's tremendously disrupting.
And, you know, and we've talked about it earlier today on the program, but the wild government spending. You know, we're in Baltimore, the Key Bridge collapse.
Right.
There's conversations about the feds picking up the bill for $2 billion plus. And again, I get the importance of getting resources quickly. But what bothers me, and I want you to comment on this, what bothers me is that you have politicians who say, yes, we'll pay for it. But no one's having a conversation about, well, what will you cut or from where the money will come? Because this just feeds inflation, the spending, which is a tax on Americans. What do you say to Congress? I know you worked on the Hill for a while, but it seems that Congress doesn't want to do its job in terms of getting the deficit and the $34 trillion debt under control.
Nobody wants to make those kind of trade-offs, and that's exactly what you need to do. And you put it exactly. My concern is that increasingly every politician up there, says yes to the spending first, and then punts the how do we pay for it later. Nobody wants to do that. It's consequence-free policy making. It must, I'm sure it's fun for them. It's just not fun for the rest of us.
It's interesting, and I'm not sure if you know Brian Darling. Brian Darling is a guy in town. He has Liberty Government Affairs. He's a really good guy. We talked about how the payment on the national debt is approaching $1 trillion, which is more than we spend on national defense. The problem is that you're right. They've been kicking the can down the lane, so to speak. But I think we're not going to solve inflation until we do deal seriously with the debts and deficit. So maybe that bill has come to the table. What do you make of that? Will they wake up? I don't see how we solve inflation issues without dealing with the debt issues.
So I think the only way they're going to wake up is if the alarm clock goes off. And I unfortunately, to your point, the interest spending, the debt service cost is exploding. And whether we like it or not, that is going to start constraining, some of the choices that these policymakers that want to spend freely. When interest is going to be the second largest government program, bigger than Medicare, bigger than defense, it's crazy. And that is an action forcing event. Eventually, we've seen some disruptions already in the bond markets. That's a real concern for the largest economy on the planet. That's also the reserve currency with the dollar. We have a lot of things going for us, but I'm concerned that we're squandering it.
Well, I'm sure that this is a first in many conversations with you, Gordon Gray, the executive director of the Pinpoint Policy Institute. I want to make sure that we link to your site. I want to make sure that in the pages of Real Clear Politics and Policy and Health that we're promoting your stuff. I want you back on again. Maybe we'll do an economic update in the future where you come on and give us we do something called the Liberty Update with Brian Darling. Maybe we'll do a pinpoint update on a regular basis with you where you can tell us where we are. But good luck to you. Congratulations.
That'd be terrific.
And I wish you all the luck. This is an important group, and how we can support you, I want to do it. So God bless you, buddy.
Thanks so much, Sherry. Really appreciate it.
All right. That was Gordon.